Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to whatever the heck this show is called. I'm holding a red mic. There is a red wire. Yes, we have new characters joining us. The baby goat, DTR, shout out UCLA. He was our college football goat. Little Ant Edwards and Stitch, as always, with the red boots. And man, have I got an episode for you guys today. We got week 6 overreactions. Did James Franklin fill his diaper again? Is Robbie Ashford the Heisman? Questions that are on our mind that need to be answered. And then we'll be ending today's episode with a week 7 look ahead with 4 to 5 key games, and we're going to talk through it all. So let's just get right into it. First off the top, just wanted to address this as a massive fan of Caitlin Clark. The WNBA just continues to surprise in just how shocking some of the things the leadership says every day. For those of you that aren't following it, which I would understand, the WNBA commissioner came out and said that Caitlin Clark should thank the WNBA for her millions of dollars, because without them, she wouldn't have any of her sponsorship deals. And it's just. At some point, someone in the WNBA has to wake up to the fact that Caitlin Clark could start her own professional women's league without the WNBA, and it would get more viewerships and more sponsorships than the WNBA has as a whole currently. So go ahead, hang the banner for wildest quote of the week to the WNBA commissioner for thinking that they have had any effect on Caitlin Clark's growth, when in reality, Caitlin Clark has actually grown the WNBA. But who cares about that? So let's talk week 6 in college football. If you're a Penn State fan, you're going to want to avert your eyes and shut your ears, because James Franklin has filled his diaper again. It feels like every time the lights get bright for James Franklin, he's on the sideline just like it seems to only go from bad to worse for James. And if you're a Penn State fan, I think something I've been posing as a question to all my Penn State fans is where do you go from here? Is there a coach that's better right now for Penn State than James Franklin? Because it seems as though if you're not named Michigan, Ohio State, and potentially Oregon since joining the Big Ten, he really doesn't lose those games. But then you have a game like this against a UCLA team that just fired their coach. Nico looked like a cardboard cutout for 5 weeks of the college football season, and all of a sudden, fire his coach. They got what looks like a 16-year-old offensive coordinator, doesn't even know how to press the buttons, and he puts a masterclass on James Franklin's head. And, is the story James Franklin isn't the guy at Penn State? Because that feels like a not shocking take, and I'm not here to do takes because who cares what I really have to say. But as a bettor, man, Penn State spread had to be one of the most bet on spreads of the weekend because it was the perfect bounce back spot. You're getting a really bad UCLA team with a Penn State team that just got punched in the mouth and now has a chance to go ahead and show some grit on the road. And Drew Aller does what Drew Aller does, and it seems to not improve. And I think that's really the most shocking thing that happened in this game is we're starting to find that it doesn't look like Drew Aller's taking that next step. And that is disappointing as a Drew Aller truther, which I've been now for 3 years running, and it is getting exhausting to once again see Drew Aller be incapable of taking the necessary step forward that Penn State needs him to take to be a great football team. And yeah, we can gripe about weapons that he has to throw to, but the reality is he brought back 2 running backs that carried him to a college football playoff last year, and they've only gotten worse. So if I'm a Penn State fan, I don't know what the answer is. Is it no more James Franklin? Is the seats got to be as hot as ever? But on the flip side, how great is college football because of the moments you get for UCLA fans, the 5 of them that were in attendance? Free French fries because they somehow hit a team total that a French fry store hit or that a French fry store set for them. But I think that's the beauty of college football is you get one program on one side that goes, we need to burn the village, everything's done, we've never been more over. And on the other side, you have a college football team that went into this game going, dude, we're going to get murked. And then Nico comes out, looks like Lamar Jackson, which, by the way, he probably just secured his phone call for the offseason to the transfer portal to go, okay, now you guys can pay me what you want or what I want, because there's no reality in which he stays at UCLA. But again, it's just James Franklin filling his diaper. And you can't get out-coached in that spot if you're James Franklin. On the other side of the coin, though, Alabama's all the way back. I've officially locked in my national championship future for Alabama at plus 700. I mean, hang the banner for Jam Miller for covering that spread, by the way, with a touchdown run with 45 seconds left while Johnny Manziel's on the sideline for Vanderbilt, telling fans that they covered. And then, what do you know? Jam Miller, he's gone. Legacy cover, but this Alabama team is a fine wine. I think they're going to win the college football national championship. Plus 700 seems like great value for me right now because the real story is Ty Simpson is a baller, man. If you're watching Alabama play, I don't know how you can't look at Ty Simpson and go, he's the best quarterback in college football right now. I know Fernando Mendoza just entered the chat. I know Dante Moore just entered the chat. I know Brendan Sorsby, shout out Javon, is entering the chat. But Ty Simpson has just become, from week one where it was burn the village, fire DeBoer, get Ty Simpson out of here. How was he the guy to replace Jalen Milroe to now we're sitting at week 6 going into week 7 going, this Alabama team could win a national championship and Ty Simpson might be the best quarterback in all of college. And I don't disagree. I think this defense is starting to find its footing. I think Alabama might be back. I think DeBoer might be back. And I'd be very, very cautious fading Alabama the rest of the way. Tease to the look ahead for week 7. Texas fans, I just don't know where you go from here. I've been banging the drum, and I felt like I was standing on a hill by myself at the beginning of this year, saying that I didn't think Arch Manning was worthy of being the number 1 overall team in the country. We've never seen him play an actual down of football that mattered. He only played against bad teams. He was only running packages, and now you kind of prematurely crown the kid going into his first real year as a starter as an SEC quarterback. And I feel bad for the kid because that shouldn't have been the expectation. Arch Manning should have been in a situation where it goes, okay, this is his first year as a starter. Let's see how he can roll with the Texas weapons, which, by the way, there's a plethora of them. And I do think he is slightly at fault for how bad this Texas team has looked early on. But I just think the expectations were set too high on him. I don't think you can take a kid where, I know everyone's seen the high school footage, that never played a meaningful down as a starter. It felt like we've set him up for failure. And I do feel bad for Arch because I do think he could be a really great quarterback. I do think he could be the guy that somehow brings Texas back. But I think we just levied too high of expectations by making them the number 1 seed. And then they walk into Florida and he can't throw the ball. He can't move the ball. He's making mistakes. He's stalling drives. And you gave us Florida with the points, which we just smashed. So, I mean, I think if I'm a Texas fan, I'm obviously frustrated, but if you didn't see this coming after week 1 and playing these really bad teams the past 3 weeks, we might have to open our eyes a little bit. However, on the other side of the coin, Billy Napier somehow, every time the seat is red hot, finds a way to put an ice cube under his ass because now the seat's cool again, except for next week's game, which we will get to probably at the end of the week, but what a cover from Florida, just really incredible. Another Florida team that's probably worth the mention, definitely, is the University of Miami. We took Florida State spread, which was just a really bad bet, but that game was really just the crossroads of Miami's for real, Carson Beck's a baller, and Tommy Castellanos has a serious decision-making problem. When I watch that kid play football, it is the most tiring experience of all time because it literally goes from, oh my God, he's Lamar Jackson, oh my God, he's prime Kyler Murray, to why did he just throw the ball to the other team? And I think that's going to be the story of Tommy Castellanos and this Florida State team for the rest of the year. You're never fully in control of a game going forward because it seems as though he has a decision-making problem, and it seems like he's always just trying to make that big play that gets him on TV. An interesting crossroads there. If I'm a Miami fan, I'm stoked. If I'm a Florida State fan, you're pulling your hair out week by week. It's insane. Let's do the quick notes segment where we're going to do quick notes on a couple key games that happened that are just funny. Bill Belichick, take the headset away from Jordan, man. It looks like she's calling the plays out there, and you need to stop that. Take the headset back from her and get her off the sideline. Virginia's the real deal. We need to take them seriously. And Texas Tech is absolutely for real. I think everyone went into this game thinking that fading Texas Tech was going to be the play and taking Houston with the points, and Texas Tech just had to remind everybody that they did hit the portal really hard, and they are meshing really well, and they're now the team to beat in the Big 12. If you want to have fun, and if you have a girlfriend and she doesn't want to watch college football, just make her watch a Big 12 game because there's going to be points, there's going to be deep shots, the top's going to come off. It is just the most exhilarating conference. It's my new crowned conference of fun. Now let's get to our betting segment where we're going to recap our bets really quickly. We had quite the weekend, but hand up, we always take accountability over the Century Miss because Washington didn't want to play offense for the first 3 quarters of the game. And hand up, that's on me. I didn't know DeMond Williams was going to take 3 quarters off that game. But we had a great weekend. Michigan State covered. And Dylan Royola, on another note, still hasn't shown me that he is the guy. It's shocking week over week, this kid. Florida covered. Bama covered. Duke won. Cincinnati was a free bet. Virginia was a free bet. And Wake Forest was a free bet. How about Robbie Ashford? I hope you guys got fired up. We hit a plethora of props. We took KC Conception yards cash, Ryan Williams yard cash. They both scored. I said that was going to happen. And we had Damon Claiborne and Jamari Taylor to score. The only prop that didn't come through was Nate Frazier touchdown. But we had a day. Let's do a round of applause. And then in the same breath, let's have a moment of silence for the Pay for the Drinks parlay that only missed by one leg because of the over of the century. Now let's get to the portion of the episode that I know everyone's looking forward to, because we're going to talk some real deal, serious wagers. Key games going into week 7. Let's do a look ahead, bring out the binoculars, and we start with Ohio State traveling to Illinois, where they are a 14.5-point favorite, and the over-under is 50.5. This Ohio State team is something else, guys. It seems like Julian Sain could be one of the best quarterbacks in the country, but they're just not putting him in positions to have to make plays. He just has to win games. I hate the term game manager because I feel like it has just gone so far right and left of what it really means. And what it truly is you're just a winner. And Julian Sain is just doing enough to win these games. He doesn't have to be over the top. And I think we've seen multiple times when Ohio State had to open the playbook, he can pretty much do everything they can ask him to do. And I do think Illinois going into this week might be a very popular bet at 14.5 points, because that's a ton of points. But early on, and just keep in mind, this is why you follow the socials, and this is just for my college football sickos that just want college football all the time, I really want to take Ohio State minus 14.5. This feels like the Julian Sain coming out game a little bit, where he opens the playbook and they beat the brakes off of Illinois, and they walk in there and Jeremiah Smith has a touchdown, hits his yards, maybe gets 2 of them. And I don't know why, I'm just getting a gut feeling on that. But Ohio State minus 14.5, I could see this just being an absolute rout. Alabama's going into Missouri. Missouri is plus 2.5 at home. The over-under is 51.5. I don't believe in Bo Prabula. I'm going to be taking Alabama. I don't care where this line goes. I'm going to take Alabama early, and then I'm going to wait till the day of. Hopefully the public takes Mizzou so I can take Alabama again. Again, I just took them to win the Natty at plus 700. I think Ty Simpson is the best quarterback in college football right now, and I think they run over Bo Prabula. I know Ahmad Hardy is having a year and a half for Mizzou, and Mizzou bettors, whenever I'm this confident, go ahead and lock in the Mizzou bet. But Jam Miller being back, that Alabama defense finding its footing against Vanderbilt, I haven't believed in Bo Prabula yet, and I think being at home, one, because I can't pronounce the name. Can we just keep that a buck? Bo Prabula, for whatever reason, I just cannot pronounce the name, and it's starting to drive me a little crazy. But I don't believe in him. And I think look ahead spot, this is a great time to take Alabama. This is a great time to take the Alabama team total over. And speaking of overs, Indiana going into Oregon. Oregon is minus 7.5. The over-under is 55.5. And listen, this look ahead segment is just for my sickos that go, how do I look at this game? And then as the week develops, where do I actually go from? So this is just our starting point. And when I release Thursday's episode, we will have our endpoint of wagers that we are absolutely locking in. I think Indiana plus 7.5 might be the play. And I know that feels too easy because you're telling me Fernando Mendoza, who's, by the way, the favorite right now on books to go as the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft, is a 7.5-point dog to Oregon, even though it's in Oregon. And Dan Lanning might be on a certain substance that I'm not going to say, but if you saw his jaw moving and his eyes blinking like crazy, which, by the way, is nice. A college football coach that's so into ball that he just looks cracked out every single time they put him on camera, that's exactly what I'd want out of my coach. I want him so into ball that he looks like he's on drugs. And I think that's something special that Dan Lanning is starting to put together here. I love this over 55.5. I think it's that high for a reason. I think Mendoza and Dante Moore are 2 of the best quarterbacks in college football, and I think they're going to throw it around the park. But this does kind of feel like a Signetti game with 7.5 points in my pocket. The Red River Shootout, we will not be calling it by the other name. It is the Red River Shootout. And if you live in Texas, do not get it twisted left, right, or center. Do not go to this game. Texas State Fair is rat-fucked every year. It's so hot. There is no coverage in the Cotton Bowl. It is just a nightmare. Having said that, Oklahoma plus 2.5 in money line is a wager I need to take. If I'm going to stand up here and talk about Arch Manning and not believing in him, I have to take Oklahoma with a backup quarterback and a Brent Venables defense against Arch Manning. The system this year has just been Brent Venables defense. The system is Venables. Last look ahead for week 7 before we move to our early bets. Yeah, that's right. I'm giving you early bets for Thursday and Friday that I will 1,000% have locked in, so you better lock them in with me. Wake Wagon money line. We're on the Robbie Ashford train, so pull the rope. Pull the rope, the Robbie Ashford train. We're all on it now. So either get on now or you're not allowed on until next episode when we give it out again. Wake Wagon Moneyline. Robbie Ashford he's our train of the season. Just get on, and he's going to take us to glory. Whenever this thing is that he does, it's the most electric thing I've ever seen of all time. Let's talk some early bets. Thursday, Jacksonville State -7.5. Wait to bet this game till Thursday, though. So when we're talking Jacksonville State, just know 2 words: Gavin Wimsatt. The kid was our GOAT from Rutgers. He now moves over to Kentucky, and now is at Jacksonville State. They also have TCU transfer Cam Cook, and I love Jacksonville State in this spot. Other Thursday bet we need to be involved in: ECU Tulane over. Those 2 will be tweeted out and locked in on Thursday. I'm going to wait for final lines, but just know, look ahead, keep it on your calendar, mark it right now: Jacksonville State spread and ECU Tulane over. Friday, whale of the week before Saturday: Rutgers overs. That over at 58.5 is that high for a reason, I promise. And when I look into this camera and tell you that Rutgers over is going to be a whale play, it's going to be a whale play. So on Friday, the other episode will be out by then. So if you're listening to this episode now, just know we're dropping 2 episodes a week. That's always going to be the cadence. Rutgers over on Friday is going to feed the family. That defense is horrific, but I'll tell you what, Calamamakis can move the ball, man. This is not your standard Rutgers offense. They can move the ball. They got weapons at every level, but they're just all mediocre. But they move the ball. So that Rutgers over 58.5 is going to be an absolute whale. I think DeMond is going to be able to throw it all around the park, and I wouldn't be shocked if Rutgers covers, but that over is the whale. Thanks, guys. And now and we end every episode the same way with a little bit of Mikey core. I've found that just being a little vulnerable with you guys is probably the best, because I think, I do think talking about your problems too much just, keeps you in them. But I found that sometimes when I talk about the things that I'm struggling with, it helps you guys, because some of you guys are going through it. And, something I'm truly struggling with lately is not in an aggressive way, but just struggling to find joy in things. I think for whatever reason, I keep doing this thing where I'm just revisiting negative emotions and negative events and living in them too often right now in my current life. And I've found that I haven't given those emotions the correct space, and I haven't addressed them. And I think that's something really important that I've learned through therapy, is addressing those emotions, or else what's happening to me can happen very frequently. And again, I'm not a licensed whatever, so take all things with a grain of salt. But I think I've just spent too much time lately falling into the trap of feeling a negative emotion and allowing it to dominate, instead of feeling it and allowing it to pass. I think that quote, it's so iconic, you see it everywhere now, but "this too shall pass" is something that I'm really trying to internalize, because if we spend too much time living in that emotion and allowing it to dominate our days and playing that game where we feel bad for ourselves and we strictly live in this house of negativity or sadness or whatever you want to call it, it's a dangerous game to play. And I think I'm just trying to do a better job in my personal life of addressing those emotions, feeling them, living in them, and then watching and allowing them to pass, and allowing myself to find joy in little moments, and allowing myself to find joy in the day. But just be there for yourself. I think that's something that I'm trying to do, is I've found myself living in these negative emotions and thoughts recently, and I'm not being there for myself. I'm not picking myself up. I think sometimes we wait to be saved. I think sometimes we wait for someone to go, what's going on? What's the matter? And I think the most important thing is just being there for yourself. Talk kindly to yourself. Be kind to yourself in your head. I think if you took the thoughts that are in your head and someone said them to you, you would never allow it. So don't be mean to yourself. You're great. You're killing it. If you're going through a tough time, you're going to get through it. But just show up for yourself. I know this Mikey core always goes left, right, and center, but just show up for yourself. I think that's something I'm really trying to focus on as you're coming to the end of 2025, which is crazy to say. But just show up for yourself, and we're going to get through it. It's going to be fine. And if you're going through something right now, or you're not feeling strong enough, or you're feeling the negative waves, please go get help. talk to somebody. Seek somebody out in your personal life. I'm such an advocate for therapy. Thank you guys so much for listening. Catch me on the Sportsline YouTube and CBS Sports HQ. The Sportsline YouTube is going to be where all the NFL stuff is. Next episode, we're talking Auburn, Georgia. And I've got a wager of the century in that game. We're talking Michigan at USC. Who wins it? And is it the underdog? People are asking questions. I might be on the other side. And another unranked home favorite. Sound the alarms. We might have a whale forming on the coast of the Atlantic. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. Drop in the comments if you have any suggestions for the show. Drop in the comments if you have any suggestions for things to talk about. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and showing last episode so much love. I can't wait for our next episode of all the real bets we're giving out. But thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you later in the week.